Button. Now I just gotta wait for this thing to go, and we'll really be go here. All right, let's make sure that this is. There we go. We are ready to rock. So we are officially live, ladies and gentlemen, and this is kind of a year in. This is, I guess, for lack of a better term, this is a year in review kind of podcast. As Andrew's back for more. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I don't do many interviews, so I've been rather silent this year in the interview front. I mean, obviously, I interview people, but I don't go down many shows. So thank you for having me.
Oh, no, pleasure. So, okay, so how was your year?
It's been interesting. It's been interesting. A lot of stuff has happened this year. To put it nicely, between fixing a problem that was plaguing me for about 13 years and then expanding a business and having a 3 to 4x in my business on a sales level. So it's been kind of a crazy year for me.
I was this close to a living wage this year. I lost it the last month. I was that close. Um,
I feel you. I feel you. It's taken me 10 years to get to where I'm at in my business. And
yeah,
so, and it's taken a lot. There's been a lot of bumps and there's been a lot of crazy stuff. And I was in the right place at the right time this year where it was the skill and maturity was there, but I also got lucky. I'll be very honest
sure.
about it.
But luck is preparation meets opportunity. That's what it actually really for a lot. That's what it is, right?
Didn't
Uh,
Thomas Jefferson not say that?
but that's what it is. I mean, like, look, it's not. It's all about like I had this interview yesterday, and we talked about me like accidentally. I accidentally got traditionally published a couple years ago, or not a couple years ago, like almost actually 10 years ago. Actually, that's actually pretty cool. But a lot of dominoes kind of had to fall in a row to make it all work. It didn't have worked if one of those dominoes wasn't there. So, in one sense, I was very lucky. In another sense, I was prepared. Like those things were there, and that's what really mattered. It doesn't matter that it had to be this magical circumstantial pack of dominoes. That doesn't really matter. No one cares how you get there. Like no one, right? Everyone, right? So, because everybody knows how hard it is, and what matters is that you're there. That's it, right? The rules, look, if if somebody 10 years from now goes to me when I have zillions of dollars and I'm doing randomly stupid shit just because I can, um, right? They're going, you were lucky to get all of this. You know what I'm gonna say? You're damn right, and that's okay, and I'll be okay with that. You know what I mean? It's like that's totally
So
how it.
I guess, but for me, and we talk about opportunities. So in February, and I haven't really been spoken about this, is I had a surgery to correct
Mhm.
my foot, and they fused my foot, and they got so most people walk like this, up and down. For about 8 years, I was walking on the complete side of my foot, and one part of my foot wasn't touching the ground. So the surgery corrected that, and I have
Good.
a day job. And so I got to work from home during my day job. And that's when I expanded my business because I knew that I didn't have a 3 hour commute every single day, which meant I had more time. And during my lunch hour, I could address my business and I could do other things. And so I had a lot more time. And then that's what led to the expansion of my business. So, it was just the idea that I said, hey, I could sit around and recover, or I could take this opportunity and do something that I wouldn't normally get the ability to do. And it just so happens that a lot of comics came out because obviously I sell comics, and I went from selling 30,000 to about 92,000 in comic books this year and collectibles. And it just so happened that I made that decision, and at that exact time, a bunch of books were going out and were selling, ran $20, and then I was selling them for 90, $100 a pop. And then there's another bunch of them and another bunch and another bunch. And so it was just a bunch of stuff just happened. And then I just said, I'm going to go do something. And we could call it God's will. We could call it whatever you want to call it. But it was just one of those things where I was like, I'm going to try. And if I fail, okay. I'm not going to be
Well,
homeless. It's going to
that,
suck though, but I went for it. And I think sometimes that also just happens too, is that you say, look, I'm in now and I'm just going to go forward, hell or high water, right?
yeah. I'm doing that right now. I'm putting together a podcast course. I don't know how many people are going to buy the thing when it's all said and done. No idea, right? It won't be zero, but I may not hit my goal. That's not the thing. You have to try. It's like you're here now to do your thing. And if you're not willing to put the effort out, then you're never going to get anywhere, right? So,
Is it the concept of failing up, right? People think, I don't know what people think about you, but I'm not an overnight success. I mean, it took me 10 years to figure out how to get almost $100,000 worth of sales in a year.
yeah.
And I don't want to be like, oh man, I'm a failure, because I don't think that's failing. But it took me 10 years of trying every business position I could think of.
Yeah.
And then it just so happens that after, I guess, 50 of them, I figured out the one, and now it's working. And that doesn't mean, I'll do the same thing next year. I might do more, I might do less, but at least I now have that business structure. But it took me 10 years to get here.
Oh,
So, like, that's
absolutely.
my thing is that, and I failed so many times, and I'm the first person to say it. So, I
But
have no
hey,
problem failing again. No problem failing again, and I will, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You could
for
bet
sure.
on that.
I mean, my failures are bigger now. That's the one thing I can honestly say is my failures are bigger now, which is good. I mean that's whether people realize it or not, that's growth, right? Right. The bigger the swing, the bigger the risk for success or failure, and you gotta kind of take it. Now I gotta make some changes. Like one of the things I was gonna do, like with everything kind of happening the way it happened, I figured that I'm gonna have to make some changes next year. I'm going to be probably going. It looks like I'm going to be heading more and more into a video editing education realm. Is where I'm going. It looks like so. Um, that seems to be where my bread gets buttered. So that's where it's going to continue. Try to get some more shows under my belt. Try to get some more writing goals done next year as well. Um, but yeah, like becoming more self sufficient is the goal. Like I said, like to anyone listening, I've mentioned this in other things. Like I had a contract with an AI company for this podcast that was going to pay me some good coin. I fell through literally start November, and then everything else I had fell through too. Like or went down the path of like, okay, we're gonna put this on hold. So one or two things you can look at it like it's like, okay, this is an opportunity to reflect, kind of refocus a little bit, which is, and there are some things I'm definitely going to do, I think, to refocus, but also like that's just part of the game. Like you're gonna constantly change as you keep doing things on your own, and you can't stay still. And I wasn't going to stay still, but the universe, God, whatever you want to say it is, made sure I'm not going to be staying still. Right? It's like it's not happening. So
Yeah, see, there's a saying where I don't know how you feel, but and I'm not saying people can't change, but I either think you are born entrepreneurial or you're not. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with not having the, I guess, blood of an entrepreneur or the thought process of it. There's plenty of great, wealthy employees in life, and they're not
sure.
entrepreneuristic, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to disparage, but there's also traits of entrepreneurship where you could fail. I mean, I don't know. I'll mention two people who might be on a similar side on certain issues and different on others, but they both have similar stories. Andrew Yang and Mark Cuban, where
Yep.
they remember going to Cozy's and getting the free bread and then sneaking back 2 hours later to get some free bread, or going to the all you can eat salad and loading up on tomatoes, because when you're an entrepreneur, you might not be able to afford even,
Oh yeah.
the most expensive meal. And so you got to figure out how to get creative. And so there you go. It's one of those things where, it's kind of a crazy thing. So I think, you're either born a certain way. That doesn't mean you can't have entrepreneur skill sets, but I find that you're either on one side of the fence or the other.
I think well it's the risk adverse. There's a risk like when you go on your own, like failure is part of the game. when you work a job, the failure isn't on you. No, I mean, very rarely is the failure on you, I should say. It happens, but it's not really like the benefit of working for a big company is okay, you can only gum up the mucks so much unless you are in a certain position, right? And if you're in that position and you fuck up that badly, they fire your ass. Like they do. They're just like, no, we can't have you do this to us again, you know? But barring that, like, okay, I screw up at work. I have a side gig. I work at the Calgary Flames. I work for the Calgary Flames, the NHL hockey team. I work at the warehouse. It's a side gig. I can fuck up big time there. It's no big deal because I'm just a cog in the machine. I'm not like nothing. And no, folks, I don't fuck up on purpose there. What I'm saying is like the the risk aversion to me screwing up there is very low. I have to literally punch somebody or steal something for them to really care, right? So that's a good place. That's minimal responsibility. Now the bad thing about it is, right now obviously there's only so far I can go because my time is now part of the machine of making something else much more money. And in the future, like I don't know what the job market future is going to look like in 10 years. I don't. I think there's going to be less jobs and more businesses. Where I think I'm going to kind of push on you is I think by default we're much more cutthroat today as is. It's going to be much. I think there's going to be much more a demand for like there's going to be a lot more freelancing going on. I think as time goes on.
I don't disagree. I also think that there's going to be more B2B plays. I think there's going to be way more, you know, even I don't know if this is freelancing, but even maybe 3 months at hiring. So for
Yeah, no,
instance,
no, no, no. That can be freelancing too.
I mean, again, I don't know the world of freelancing. I don't know what freelancing is actually defined as versus if you have a year contract, is that freelancing or is that
That
something
that can
else?
that can be that could be construed as freelancing too. It depends on the nature of the contract. But if I have a contract with somebody and there's a start and an end date, or if there's a service I'm providing, there's a start and an end date, I consider that freelancing. It doesn't matter what it is.
Because I've heard stuff about staffing agencies and things like that. And I don't know if that's freelancing.
Staffing agencies are run under the assumption that okay, you're getting into a company with the idea that after you stick around with this company for X amount of months, they hire you. That's the theory behind a temp agency. The reality of the temp agency is a little bit
Again,
more free.
I don't know anything about this. This is why I'm
No,
tiptoeing
no,
into.
that's why I'm throwing. That's why I'm explaining it, right? Um, I'm explaining it. Um, it's one of those things where, in theory, it leads to full time employment. Reality is they're cheaper labor on average for companies than regular employees. So, and depending on what part or of the country you're in, it's true in Canada and the States, you'll see more temp workers than others. When I was living in Windsor during the pandemic, I would do some temp jobs here and there. There's lots of temp work, right? Full time work, not so much. It's harder to get. It's hard to get full time work, right? Because everybody's just cycling people through the system, which is a weird thing. Um, but that's the nature here. Like where I am at in Alberta, they have a tendency to keep you. Like again, there's like I've been employed. Like I am employed at the Flames for a year. There's no type of agency. If I would take a temp job trying to get into where I used to work, there is a very good chance it would lead to a hire. Right? It does happen. But there's still a bit of that. I'm gonna go through this process, right? And hey, you worked 89 days. You for that 90 days you get hired, you're gone. Right?
I mean, look, I've never worked a temp job. I spent a lot of time. I didn't. So I completed my first full year at my company this year in September. So I got hired in 2022. Completed my first year, but I applied to like 200 jobs, and so I'm well aware of the whole process. And I got interviewed for my job in July of 2022, and I didn't get hired and didn't start till September. So it took them a long time, and it's because, well, you gotta go through a lot of corporate red tape, but, you know, I'll just say this, I could really screw up at my job and what I do. So I really, um, so I'm a little jealous that you really can't mess up your job too much. Little jealous.
No, it's a low risk job, right? Because it's one of those jobs. Again, it's pay scale too. I took a job that's a good second job, not a good first job. And the reason why it's a good second job is because it can supplement an income in an event things go awry, which is what it's doing this month for me. Because things went awry last month, I got to kind of fix the ship. But that's what the job. Pardon me. That's what the job can do. But it's not designed to supplement me for good. It's not designed to be my regular source of income because I don't want it to be my regular source of income. I want my creativity to be my regular source of income. So I've done the thing where the job has been the regular source of income and I would do creativity on the side. Now I don't think I do think there is such a thing as there comes a point with everybody that you kind of leave the safety net behind. That's kind of what I'm doing. I probably got an I figure because of just where I'm at, there's some little things I got to work on in my game personally. But I figure I'm probably 2 years away from being fully self sufficient, and that means nothing else.
Yeah, see, this is interesting, right? Because I think that, and I'm actually curious what you think about this. You know who Pat Chand is, right?
The name rings a bell. The writer for
Yeah, yeah.
Zenoscope.
For
Yeah.
Zenoscope, he's done some stuff for a bunch of other people. Obviously, he has his own creator own stuff. And what I view Pat as is, I think he is a model that should be copied, in anything creativity wise, because he has a gig with Zenoscope. So that is paid for hire. So when he's writing Van Helsing, he's getting a page rate or a fixed rate. And then when he's doing something for another company that hired him, it's the same thing. But then he goes out and does something creative like Destiny New York, and that's his baby, or something like Cheeky. And so I think that, and I'm curious what you think about this, because I know that your job that you're working at right now isn't exactly that, but it almost sounds like a gig versus saying, you
It's
know,
it is and it isn't. Like it's not a gig. I think there's two big differences. While I don't know if Zenoscopes is Pat Chan's final destination of choice, I
yeah,
again that's not a conversation I am privy to, and I'm not making any assumptions for Pat. So
I'm
I'm
not
not,
either. That's not what I was getting at all. So
yeah. But just to say that, right? But what he's got is he's got like I did this like last year. I had two stable gigs, like two very stable freelance gigs I was regularly doing, and this year I'm going to have at least two more, and it's going to lead to me making more coming up. I'm going two more at some point, and they're going to pay me significantly more money than I made the previous year. But that's in the future, right? I got to figure out the present, right? So the
got
thing is,
right.
right. Well, but the thing is, like when you're freelancing, it's good to get yourself some steady. Like what you're looking for is a steady gig. And so what I'm looking for now, like this is the thing, is I am looking to replace this job. Like this is my second job. I'm looking to replace it. Because if I can replace it, I can do what I want now. Even if I'm not quite self-sufficient, right? I can still at that point I'm going to be able to create time for myself in a way that will benefit me to do more conventions next year throughout Canada and the United States. I can travel more, I can do more things and not have to worry about certain things. And that's fine. Like that's exactly where I want to be next year. So that's really the goal right now. Um and I say it like that, like with no disrespect to the job. It's just I don't want to just keep doing it, right? I want to do something else. Now, what that is, what that entails, I'm looking at that right now. I like, who knows? Like one of the things I'm applying for is actually in the same building, but to be part of the broadcast team, right? There's an opening for that, video editing, broadcasting. I got plenty of both of experience, right? So I don't quite have the sports background, but I've also been working in a sports building for over a year. So I am aware of what's going on in ways that that maybe people from the outside wouldn't be. So I have certain advantages that way. So it's I have the ability, I have the ethic. Like that would be a fun, like that would be a great gig. Like and my summers would be free, right? I would still have to come to the city more often than I'd want to, but I'd be a small price to pay to be able to go. But again, these are things I'm considering right now, right? And now that's what I'm looking for is now like taking this thing here and replacing it with something better. And then the gigs I'm coming up with next year, they're like have some really steady gigs so that my time is booked. So now I can pursue better gigs, right? Pat, I'm imagining with Zenoscope. Zenoscope is his stable, is quote unquote his stable gig, right? It's not. It's the one that lets him pay his bills, and everything else he's doing is either stuff he wants to do for fun or stuff that's actually potentially more lucrative in the long run, right? So he's got
Yeah,
the time to take that chance.
there's a lot of Kickstarters, and I think what it is that I think it's a gig, it's a stable gig. He's also been writing Van Helsing for like 10 years, so he knows that character probably better than everybody else
Oh
knows that
sure,
character. And it's kind of fun to write something for 10 years and be part of that and work for that company. And so I don't want to, but also, I think it allows him to breathe a little bit. And sometimes when you have a little bit of breath, you can function and say, okay, I don't need to force this widget into this hole this way because I can go and approach it a different way. Or it could be that since he's working for Zenoscope, it provides some clout, so when he does go to another Kickstarter, it helps to build his name, and it really helped to build his name, and it maintains it. And so there's a million things that can mean. I don't know exactly because I haven't actually asked him about this, and at some point I will, because I love Pat Shand, and that's why I bring him up because I think what he's done is very very smart in creativity. And I'm not saying it
sure,
works for everybody. I'm not saying it has to be. It's not a perfect model by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's a good starting point saying he has some steady gigs and he has some creator own stuff. And it seems that he's able to make a living based on creativity, was my whole
yeah,
point. I think it's brilliant. I think it's wonderful. And I think that we have to give credit where credit's due because I don't think we do that enough in this comic book creativity world. Is when somebody comes up with an actual thing and they're actually doing it, we should say that person figured out how to do it. What have they done right?
sure. Like I said, he got himself a regular gig, a regular paying gig. And Zenoscope's probably taking good care of him because if they're giving him that kind of stability, that there's an investment there. But the whole game is really about investing in yourself, like that. Like, and this is the whole crux of the matter. Is I don't just see it from a comic perspective because I interview authors and other things as well. The whole name of the game is to get your name out there. That's really what this is. Like you constantly put yourself out there. You constantly push content out there and you let people know that you exist. That's your job. The rest of how you do it, that like how you do it is entirely up to you, but that's your job as a creative. Like you have to advertise. And it's a big part of creativity is you got to promote. And the one thing I think a lot of artists fail, this is where they epically fail, I think, in a lot of ways, is they don't know how to do that.
Yeah, oh, no, I agree. I agree. I mean, oh, it's I think some of the most talented people are the least creative at promoting themselves, communicating. I mean, I don't know in which that it is so hard sometimes to communicate with artists. I don't, and not even from like me writing, but me, hey, I would love to interview you, and it is so hard to communicate with them, and it is the absolute worst to when you have somebody like that, and then we finally get a date, and they're great as a guest, and I'm like, what were you scared about, and why was it so hard to communicate with you? It's like the most bewildering thing for me because I'm like, it's A doesn't match B and C doesn't match B, and you're fantastic at everything. Like, why couldn't you just say, hey, I'm a little nervous, just let's take it nice and slow, and boom, it would have been done. And I'm just like, you were fantastic. Like, what were you terrified about? Just drives me mad.
You gotta understand. Okay, let's talk like a visual artist, someone that illustrates. Speaking isn't their first language, and now that sounds really funny, but it's not. They don't. Right? It's not like what they're doing with pictures is how they're comfortable expressing themselves. So you suddenly
So
put
what
them.
you're really telling me is that I should draw what I want when I'm pitching that. That's
Oh,
what you're telling me.
dude, I do drinking draws on my show. This is why I want to do drinking draws. It's one of the reasons. It's because it's something they're comfortable with, right? It's something comfortable. It's not. It's familiar. It's easy to get into it. And listen, I have sucked. There's literally at this point dozens of hours of me sucking on the air drawing, like literally, and I'm good with it. But that's part of the reason why it's me stepping into their world. It's taking a step and a bridge to do this, right? I mean, part of it's because I want to learn, but part of it is also just like I realize like this is how when you talk to someone that illustrates regularly, like like some of them are quite verbose, and they can definitely hold a conversation when they're in the mood, but it's not their first go-to, and you can see it even with writers are very much caught in this like, okay, I'm gonna be in my own little corner of the universe, and I'm going to tell these characters what to do, and I'm comfortable with that. But then you ask them like a monkey wrench, then you throw a monkey wrench into them, ask them a question, they're like, I don't know, right? And it's like, but it's not that hard, right? I've done shit. I've done thousands of hours of podcasting, thousands. I can actually say that, thousands of hours. And one of the things I've learned is like the biggest thing is a lot of artists also have it in their heads that they're trying to be perfect. Like they want to have the perfect moment, the perfect expression. That doesn't exist. That just does not exist anywhere. And I've learned this like doing what I'm doing is that you're not going to have this perfect. And oh, by the way, John says hi. John said hi. Can't highlight it on Zoom, unfortunately, which is too bad. But
I
he
don't know
did say
which John this is. There's like
John
20.
Wostoff, part-time comics.
I can't see it either. That's the problem. It's like
Yeah, no,
there's
it's
kind of like
Zoom. This is the downside to Zoom. Zoom does not play well with Twitch. They beat each other up for lunch money. They really do.
it's pretty funny. I would pay good money to see them in a Hell in a Cell match.
But yeah, no, they put themselves like a little hell in a cell. And the thing is, no. See, it's actually better. No, I don't want a hell in a cell. I want like a living room, and I want the parent going off to make lunch. And while that's going on, then the shit is on. Like they're beating the crap out of each other, doing as much evil shit as possible in this living room, while the parent is not aware of what's going on. There was this Ninja Turtles movie from a few years back, like the animated one a few years ago. Right. My favorite scene in the whole movie is there's this one scene where Master Splinter is just walking in, humming and hawing, and you can tell all four of them are mad at each other. They want to fight. But because Splinter is there, it's like, oh, you're so lucky he's here. Like you can see it in their body language. Like you're so lucky he's here because I would kick your ass. Like this is like a total like brotherly thing. That's what Twitch and Zoom I want. Like I want that Twitch Zoom brawl behind the back of the parents until one of them finally gets caught, because that's what happens, right? Then when they get caught, they got two siblings going, well, who did this? And he did this, and he did this, and it's like what the that's what it is, right? So it's that's what this is. So I can't always see the comments as they go, but yeah, as you can see, I have a good sense of humor about the whole thing. So
I think it's kind of funny. I mean, I would just love to see it. I would just love to see it like a showdown. It'd be fun.
yes. So speaking of wrestling, let's get the elephant out of the room. What do you think of Punk going back to WWE?
I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of Cookie Monster anymore.
I'm not a fan of Cookie
No,
Monster
I'm
either.
sorry. I'm sorry. It's
No,
my
no,
favorite
no, no.
joke.
I'm not a fan of him. I think I'm not a fan of him personally either anymore. I was a fan once upon a time, but
I think the shine of him has worn off a little bit. I'm
sure.
glad he's back home. I like seeing it. It was a cool pop. It was cool. I'm curious what they're going to do with him. But honestly, I don't know if WWE needs him
They
as
don't.
much. And I mean, honestly, I'm more interested in Seth Rollins. I really want to see this Judgment Day stuff playing out. And I don't want to see Punk versus Seth Rollins. I want to see what Damian Priest is going to do with the briefcase. Like, I want to see more of that. I want to see more guys like LA Knight get an opportunity. I want to
I,
see this young bunch of kids getting opportunities from NXT called up and seeing what happens. Like, I don't need a 40, what is he, 45 or 43? Like,
that's the thing is, okay, if you look at WWE's average age roster, their CM Punk is actually the average age, which is kind of, that's the,
fair enough.
for good or bad, that's what it is. So my take on him, my take on it is this: I actually saw the Seth Rollins promo, like him there, and I watched it, and I said to myself, I do want to see this match, but I do agree with you that WWE has a very unique victory lap they can do with CM Punk. And that's what this is gonna. This is what this is somewhat is, because he's coming back with his tail between his legs, right? And I, oddly enough, I think he could be a fantastic heel, because that's the way I think that's the way he's eventually going to go. I think he's going to be a heel, right? Because he's literally the sellout. Like, that's what he is. Like, he's a legitimate. Ironically enough, Cody Rhodes is actually the real CM Punk. Like, he is actually the real CM Punk, because he did everything Punk talked about in the pipe bomb. Cody did everything. Cody did all of it. In fact, Cody's a different victory lap for WWE. They treat him great because they respect what he's done, but he also chose to come back. That's a feather in the cap for WWE.
Went to his house.
Yeah.
I mean, this was spoken about where AEW was screwing around with this contract, and Vince went to his house.
Yeah. No. So
That's a different story. That's
no, it's
story.
different. Cody made himself invaluable, and it's a different thing. Cody did it. Cody oddly did it because it hadn't been done before. That was part of the thing. But if you want to look at who the real CM Punk in WWE is, it's actually Cody, right? It's actually Cody, right? It's why I think I think the most honest thing I heard Roman say about Cody is he did something I'm not sure I could have done. And as a man, that's hard for me to really wrap my head around. There's a respect for Cody. Even if they don't necessarily like him, they respect him. Punk is a different animal altogether. He bashed the company. He openly tried to do all kinds of shit to this company. And he's coming back, haven't changed a thing, right? Hasn't really changed a thing. He alienated the one place that really wanted him, right? He did that in a very, very, very toxic way. So he's almost got no choice but to go back to WWE if he wants to wrestle. Almost. And WWE doesn't need him, but it's neat to have him. It's neat, right? But it's a victory lap because he came back with his tail between his legs. There's potential for a really Punk could be an amazing bitter heel. That would be what I want to see from him. Like, he should be the ultimate bitter heel, because that's like his real life story, right? Whether it's true or not, like, again, he's made his own peace with whatever he's done too, and I get that he's not the same guy, but the guy that promised to change everything ended up being the one that got changed. And I think that's a neat story. And also, beyond Seth, the match I really want to see with Punk is with Cody, not with Seth. I want to see it with Cody. That's a better story.
That's a good story. I think you could have stuff with, Jey Uso could be fun to watch. I mean, there's all this stuff that could be a lot of fun to watch and see. I'm not saying that these should be year-long stories, but like Cody versus Punk should be at SummerSlam, or it should be at Royal Rumble, or it should be at something that is meaningful, like a WrestleMania. It should not be at, No Mercy. I don't even know if No Mercy is a thing anymore, but it should be at something that's, Payback, because that's not a meaningful pay-per-view. And I hate to diminish WWE. I love WWE. I'm a huge WWE fan, obviously. But I mean, look, I'm glad he's back. I think it's good for the company. I think it's good for money wise.
We'll see if it's good for the company long term. I mean, there is my even money in my head. I don't see him. I don't see him making it to the summer. I just don't. He might make it to WrestleMania, but I don't see him making it to the summer. I just don't. I think the wheels fall off. But that's just me watching his personal history.
Look, you know what is? I mean, I can tell you who I want back really badly, and I
Mm-hmm.
want Mandy Rose back. That's who I really want back.
Who do you want?
Mandy Rose.
Ah, but does
I
she want to
think
come? But does she want to come back?
right now, I think she is making a lot of money. She has a lot of money, and she doesn't need wrestling, and so she'll come back. Nobody ever leaves. Nobody ever leaves permanently. People come in and out. The question is that, but right now she's got a lot of business opportunities, and also she's potentially looking at AEW a little bit. And so
AEW suits you better, I think, honestly.
I think so, and I also think they're not gonna interfere with her Fansly or her OnlyFans, whatever, that's out there where when you're making 200,000 a month on that, I mean, and WWE wants to take that away from you, that's kind of a big pill to swallow unless you're being paid millions. It is a big pill to swallow.
Well, see, but even then, I consider I would be very considerate about it because this is beyond like the one thing this is the unique athletes have figured this out. Artists, I hope, figured this out too a little bit more. Is that there are opportunities when you're in within certain brands to become a bigger brand yourself. It's why like I don't completely close the door on doing a traditional publishing deal, right? From a business like strictly on a business standpoint, right? You don't actually if you want to make a good career as a creative, you don't need a traditional deal in any way, shape, or form. If you're a comic book person, you need never write for DC or Marvel. All right, right. You know that is no longer a necessity to make a living as a creative. But there are benefits to it, right? And I'm not saying that and also that you might want to do it, and it's not a crime either. But when you look at these kind of big, if I get into like a traditional deal, I would treat it as like me personally, I would treat it like a temporary thing because I don't know how long the deal will last, like how long the relationship will last. Now again, I'm not going to try to self-sabotage it, but I also know that there's going to come a point where the numbers may say that I'm going to go my separate ways from them, or they might want to go their separate ways from me. And when that day comes, I want to have my own established brand and established, so I don't need to go back. So I don't even think it really. It was about the money, sure, but it was also about Mandy Rose wants to be more than just Mandy Rose the wrestler. She wants to be who she is as a brand. All right, she's hot. She's taking advantage of the fact that she's hot. There are people paying to see her, and that's wonderful and great for her. But beyond that, again, she's probably looking like again, where will this lead? If she can draw this kind of audience, where would that lead in terms of a movie role? Where does that lead in terms into other gigs down the road, right?
It could also be the idea that look, if she's been wrestling for 8 years, maybe she's getting sore. Maybe she says, "Look, I could get hurt. I'm getting older. I'm obviously very attractive, and there's
Yeah,
moving roles, and I don't want to, have arthritis in my feet or my arms or my elbows. And if I keep doing this, no matter how safe it is or how careful everybody is, you still take a wear and tear on your body
oh
because
sure,
as long as it's a very physical thing, it's the same thing where somebody might say, look, I don't want to play football anymore. I've had 10 good years and I'm just one sack away from being concussed. And where's that going to make me when I'm 50? Is that going to cause me permanent brain damage?
oh
And,
yeah.
these are fair positions to take, even just on a personal level. So I really think that, I agree because I think, and also it could be that WWE gave her everything she wanted and now she doesn't want to be there anymore. And that could be it too, is that she got what she wanted out of it, and that's her brand has been built because of that.
I don't think that that part was the case necessarily. I just think she hit a very unique position where she's like, well, I don't really need to be here. and you cutting out my feet like this would make me need to be here longer. And while I don't think I hate the place, I don't necessarily want to be here. That like it's all timing and everything. It's like heck going back to the '80s. Sergeant Slaughter got a signed deal with Mattel, right? He signed a deal with Mattel. You know what he didn't do for a few years? Wrestle. Why? He had a toy deal. I can go get my ass kicked every night for nothing, or I can just sit at home and enjoy being one part of one of the most lucrative franchises ever and get a payout every so often when my figure comes out. Right? He didn't come back really into wrestling until G.I. Joe died, right? And even then, he still got residuals from it. It's not like it went to zero. He just was like, well, now I need to think about it. I think Mandy Rose. She's going to come back into wrestling. AEW is probably the best deal for her. I think in North America, I could see her try in Japan. She actually, I think, enjoyed wrestling. She wasn't one of those, especially towards the end of her NXT run. She wasn't one of those people that avoided the physicality in there, right? Um, but again, I don't know if she'd want to work full time for WWE. Could be wrong, but I don't think she necessarily wants to. You know what I mean?
No, I feel you. I feel you. I'm just saying, I just want her back because I really enjoyed her NXT run. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed her with JC Jane and Gigi and all that stuff. I really enjoyed, was it Toxic Attraction? I think it was.
Yes.
I really just enjoyed all of that. I enjoyed the trio. I enjoyed them as champions. They were the tag champs, and they were she was the NXT champ. Oh man, I just enjoyed that whole thing, and I would like to see that again because that was enjoyable for me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the modern day beautiful people. That's what they were. So
Yes, yes, very much so, very
yeah,
much so. It was great. It's
yeah,
absolutely wonderful. It's
yeah.
it's my favorite like era in NXT. So, but
Really?
yeah, because I mean, as far as the women go, I mean, DIY is amazing in NXT
Oh,
because
absolutely.
Tampa and freaking Johnny wrestling. I mean,
Yep.
Gargano is, oh my god, just that both of them are beyond talented individual wrestlers, and as a team, oh my god, they are just so fantastic.
Yep. And we'll see where they go. I we'll see where they go. It's interesting to watch how Triple H's NXT stars, how some of them have really shone in the main roster, how some of them struggled. Um, I look at Karrion Cross. I kind of feel for the guy because I think personally I like him, but I don't think his character is clicked.
Yeah, no, I just think that yeah, I don't think they know how to book the guy. I think if you
Well,
look at his run in Impact, he was great in Impact. And then when he came to NXT and then now on SmackDown, I just don't think they don't know how to use Scarlett and they don't know how to use him correctly.
I don't know if it's I also don't think he's connecting. Like the one thing about his act is I've watched it. I don't fully understand it, and I think there's a disconnect there, right? And like he's trying to be like this avatar of the end of time, I guess. Shrug. Like I don't know. That's the
I don't
problem.
really think it.
I don't mind theatrics. Theatrics can be fun. I mean, I think the best part is Scarlett like lip syncing to the song. But I'm like, well, if he's the big boss, because in NXT he was booked really well. Like he was the big boss there, and it was done very very well. Um, but for whatever reason, when he's been up, it's just like you're not working here. There's something missing, and I'm not sure what it is with him. Right. So, but the other guys like DIY's done okay. I think my favorite call up has been Bronson Reed. I enjoy his work every time I watch him go out there. So
Was he Jonah on the
yes,
Indies? Oh, he's great. He's a blast to watch. So this is my question though, is that, and the only question that matters here is how do we feel about Dominic Mysterio in
I
wrestling?
mean,
Because he got
I
called down and a call up at the exact same time.
no. Dominic Mysterio is going to be a fantastic world champion in about 3 years. I'm not joking.
That I think that guy is deserves, if there's an award for most developed and worked wrestler of the year, it's Dominic Mysterio, hands down, because that kid has worked beyond harder than anybody else in WWE.
What I actually think it is. He's been he's getting past. I love Prison Dom. Prison Dom cracked me. Like I was so fun. That was
Best
funny.
entrance ever in WrestleMania with the thing, and he comes out with the chains and the mask. Oh my god.
Right. So, but the thing is, he's was allowed to develop on his own, which is fantastic. He's a great heel, but I can see it. He's going to be the biggest babyface in wrestling in 3 years. In 3 years.
I love the fact that he's part of the Judgment Day. I love the fact that Rhea Ripley wears the collar that says Dominic.
Yes.
And what I love about that is I love the fact that Dominic can stand on his own. Rhea Ripley is in a lot of ways acting as Dominic's manager, but I feel like she doesn't interfere. And I just think that whole stable is beyond booked well. And when all those people dissolve from there, they're all gonna be in a much better place. And they're
Except for me.
already in a great place.
Except for maybe Finn. Finn, I don't know about. Damian Priest, he reminds me of Scott Hall, young Scott Hall. He, or youngish Scott Hall, I should say. Damian Priest. Um, he reminds me of him. He's going to be just fine. JD McDonough, I feel I feel like the Judgment Day is going to go through like it's going to be the group in WWE that's going to be like the Four Horsemen in that. It's going to be the group with a couple of regular mainstays and everybody else will be like new people to build up. I think that's what that group actually is. Um that's what they're designed to be because I look at Finn Balor and I think he's gone as high. And I don't know if that's fair or not to say, but he's gone as high as he's going to go. But he's a good mentor for people. Like JD McDonough, I could see him staying in the group, like staying in the group for a while. I can see Dominic staying in the group for a little while longer yet. But I think like Damian Priest is gonna go, and they're gonna replace him with somebody else. And the idea is you're gonna constantly influx these newer guys to because they have a brand to work with and I think Finn's a good mentor from what I can tell anyway. I'm not saying it right, so and that's how I kind of see it. But Dominic, Rhea is interesting because they're gonna break her up from there eventually too. I don't know if they replace her. Um, she's the wild card in the group, in my opinion. But they are WWE's attempt to create a horseman like stable with the sole purpose to put somebody over. That's what I think they are.
I mean, I love the concept of it. I love every person in that group right now. And I think it's brilliant. And I think they're doing a fantastic job. And I like the fact that Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest are kind of the leaders of that group. And I think
Oh
it's
yeah.
really, really interesting to have a woman because I don't remember a time where there was a woman who was leading a stable of men. I don't remember the time.
Uh
It's been a while.
it's been done before, but this is a what makes this one unique is twofold. Ray is still an active wrestler. Like Sherry, you can make an argument. You can make an argument was that you can make an argument with Woman, but Woman never wrestled, and Sherry was kind of retired. Like they put her in a managerial role because there was nothing else for her left to do. when she lost the world title, they decided they were going in a different direction then too. But um, but even so, like there was nothing really for her left to accomplish in the division. So they're like, okay, you manage and work with the men. So she was Macho Man's partner in crime. She was definitely. I mean, the only one she kind of was a patsy for was Shawn, but that was a different. Again, that was a different dynamic than DiBiase and Savage. So, but yeah, like Rhea is the first one where it's just like she still wrestles. She still has her own presence. She still does her own stuff. She still has that. And the thing about it is, her being in that position makes her actually a bigger star because she's not. I wouldn't say she's the one in charge all the time, but she's definitely the one pulling the strings. And right, and that's and her line, "Mommy is always the one on top." I mean, there is a certain reality to that that you can legitimately see, and that, and again, her being part of that group adds to that. So the group has been as good to her as she's been to the group, and that's where it's been good to her. It's like, hey, you have this presence.
Hey, I love it. I love it. I love the fact that she's in that group. I'm more interested in what's going beyond the scenes and behind the scenes and what's actually taking place in the ring with Rhea right now. Like, to be honest, like I have no desire, not saying I don't enjoy watching her wrestle because I love when she wrestles, but it's way more interesting to watch her and how she's maneuvering things and meeting the people and her backstage presence. Because to me, the wrestling in wrestling is not the story. It's all the promos, it's all the actions behind the stage. It's when she's managing Dom and then something else happens with that kind of tells me, oh man, this is where we're getting the story. It's kind of like I do wrestling similar to comics, where wrestling is almost like the panels.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like or maybe wrestling is between the panels to some degree. I don't know, but I just find it her fascinating. Every time she's on screen and she's not in the ring, I find it so interesting because what diabolical shit is she gonna do? And then that's the question I have.
Well, the reason why she comes across as diabolical as she does is because of the whisper she does to Dominic. No one knows what she says to him, but that's a little message between both of them, right? It's so smart. It's a little thing, right? It's a little thing, and it's a fun thing, right? And that's the whole thing. It's a fun thing. No, she's much more interesting. She's she's I would, but here's what I would go so far to say. She's not as interesting in the ring because as of this moment, there is nobody in the division that you want to see take the title from her. That's the problem right now. She's so established. She's Charlotte 2.0 in the sense that, like, when Charlotte's not champion, what do you do with her? Right? Now they've done some more stuff with Rhea, like Charlotte. If Charlotte had the opportunity to manage like somebody like she's like Rhea's doing, would have done Charlotte a world of good. Um, but she's the same problem. Who do you put? Who realistically beats Rhea?
I don't know. I don't know because I don't think Bianca Belair would be good at this moment for that. I don't think
Bianca,
Bailey.
Bianca and Becky are not options right now. Like Becky as a match, sure, but as a like beating her for the title, no.
Honestly, and I'll be honest, I think when Becky won her NXT champion, that was great for Becky, and I think that made a lot of sense because that helped the NXT brand tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it was only for like 2, 3 months, it really helped to do that. And sometimes you need to do that in wrestling. But like, I mean, what are we? I mean, I can't even think of who. I mean, the only person, this is a long shot that would make any sense, and even still, I don't think it would work, is if somehow Sasha returned. Because then you now have a returning, but I don't think Sasha wants to come back to the WWE so quickly. And even still, do you really want Sasha beating Rhea Ripley? because to me that also it's gonna look a little bit like, great, you're back and you left on bad terms, and now we're just happy we have you back and we're placating you with a belt. I mean, that's how that's gonna look, and
No,
it's
I, I, I don't. That no, it's just okay. So Rhea's problem is who can credibly beat her. Becky, they're keeping Becky as far away from her as they can as possible right now because the moment they shoot that off, because the problem is there's nothing after Becky. There's nothing, right? Who's after Becky, right? You can't do Bianca. You're probably not going to get Mercedes Monet, Shasta Banks for those people that want to know. You're probably not getting her to come back to the company right away, right? So on your roster, you have some promising people, but they need more time. They need to need more time to develop, right? My other favorite woman character on Raw right now is Maxine. She's not a wrestler at this point, so but she's fun, like very game. That's what I give her. I will give this to her. She puts her heart into it, and I can respect that.
it's just the Maxim male models thing.
That was awesome.
Oh, so good, so entertaining in so many ways.
Or they all had fun. They all had fun, but even with her as part of Alpha Academy, it's been fun to watch her, right? But that's a character thing. In the ring, you can make a credible story in the ring for Rhea Ripley if she has a credible opponent. So who can she wrestle? Nia Jax. Nia Jax, give her a little bit more time, a little bit more build. That actually could be fun. But I don't see Nia beating her. You have Piper Niven, Chelsea Green. Chelsea, if given enough time to develop, would be really fun. She's an incredibly gifted performer. But she's not ever been in a position of. So who else you got? Maybe Alexa Bliss in about 6 months to a year. Maybe.
In a
Okay.
year, in a year,
Yeah,
18
yeah.
months.
Well, she just gave birth, so it's
That's what I was going.
she just gave birth. You're probably she wants to probably stay at home for a little bit, but let's assume 6 months, another 6 months at least, maybe longer, maybe Alexa Bliss, maybe. So you got Becky. Becky's her best opponent, but you can't. But you're saving that probably for WrestleMania. So what do you do with Rhea in the meantime? You feed her with put her with some younger talent that won't be hurt too bad by her beating them. But you're not gonna again. You almost have you have a Roman Reigns problem, but not to the same degree. It's just that I think you just need more time to develop some of these women to develop a little bit more on the main roster, right? And that's the issue. I think her best challengers, ironically enough, are on SmackDown. Damage Control, any one of them would be an interesting match with Rhea. Charlotte is always a good match with Rhea, although you don't necessarily want Charlotte to beat her, which is a problem. But again, people that could credibly, you could look at that could go head to head with Rhea and win.
I
You
mean,
have Charlotte.
right now, I mean, as a placeholder, Royal Rumble, I think Bailey might be a good answer. Honestly, if you're looking at it,
Bailey's probably going to be the one to beat Io. That's the way that story is going to go.
oh no, I understand, but that match isn't happening today, and they need placeholders. And if you want a solid match where somebody's not gonna where it's gonna build up Rhea for Becky, Bailey would be a good shoe in because now you have one of the four
Yeah,
horsewomen, and you're placeholding something in, and then the way you protect Bailey is that you have Bailey win the Royal Rumble, and then you have her face Io at WrestleMania in
yeah.
the same night because that's the only way how to protect Bailey in that circumstance. If you
But
wanted to
again,
go down.
but again, you don't put Bailey in that situation. You just don't, because why would you? It would damage her. Even losing to Rhea even doing that would kind of damage her. So why if you're just putting somebody for Rhea to beat, just put somebody in there for Rhea to beat. Don't worry about don't if they're not in your big plans right now, just give her somebody. That's what you do, right? But yeah, that's why Rhea is not interesting on in the ring right now. It's not that she isn't a good performer; she's a great performer. The problem is, again, if you look at the roster, who can credibly take her place? And the answer is no one. So that's why she's on top. That's why mommy is always going to be on top.
No, I think it's funny. I think it's funny. I like that shirt. I have that shirt. It says I'm your mommy. I think it's a great shirt. I Some people stare at it, some people don't. Some people understand the joke, some people don't. I think it's funny. I have a sense of humor, and when you wear
See, if you're gonna do that, see, I would go with the "I'm Your Pappy" shirt.
that,
That's the shirt I'd go with because that would that to me would be because that's where that shirt comes from ultimately, right? It's a riff to Eddie, but I mean, so if you're gonna do it, go all in. That's what I would tell you, man. Just listen. Don't settle for being a mommy. Go for pappy. I'm your pappy.
I
Right?
really, really, really enjoy the looks I get. I
Okay.
really, really enjoy the looks I get because I think it's funny, and I want to have a good time in my life, and that's what
Sure.
I'm trying to do here. And that's what I think is funny about it is that I think it's funny, and I'm enjoying making fun of myself and making fun of this situation, and nobody's getting hurt too badly in that situation, so it's all right. If somebody feels a
Oh,
little uncomfortable, that's the goal.
oh, okay. You're going for like that. This awkward humor. Gotcha. Gotcha. No, I'm no, like I said, man. WWE's been much more interesting lately. I still enjoy AEW. I think Continental Classic has been a lot of fun. I just think what's happened is the momentum has shifted the other way now, and that's fine. It'll shift back if AEW stays the course. So I mean, it's how it always goes. It's ups and downs.
Yeah, see, I've been watching a lot of indie stuff though too. And like that's the other thing too for me is that like I watch a lot of wrestling open. And so like obviously now I'm watching and paying attention to WWE again because Punk got me back in. And I was like, okay, cool. What are they doing with this? I obviously watched Raw. That Raw I came back. I watched obviously I catch SmackDown when I can. Not SmackDown, I catch NXT when I can. Maybe every other week I'm watching NXT because I'm not a true NXT guy. I'm not a fan of the yellow brand, guys. It's all right. We're all gonna have to take the L on this one, or you could take the X if you would like it. And then you could call it NT. No timeouts. But anyway,
Okay.
but I do watch SmackDown on my Friday nights, and I watch Monday Night Raw unless there's a good team playing on Monday Night Football, um, which happens, maybe twice a month. So
Yeah. Well, last week you had terrible choices. Like that was bad.
I had two bad choices. I had Houston beating the Jets. Okay, I thought that was a safe bet. I really thought that was a safe bet, everybody. Apparently, I was wrong. I was very
Everybody
wrong.
was wrong.
And then I thought the Dolphins, which I picked, were gonna beat the Titans, Tennessee Titans, and I was wrong too.
Mm-hmm.
But but I didn't feel comfortable betting on the Giants versus Green Bay, but I was rooting for the Giants nonetheless because I felt the Giants are one of those teams right now where they're a sleeper and they're just spoiling somebody's playoff run and they're laughing at them. They're like, we can't make the playoffs, but neither can you.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm watching them. I'm a Lions fan, so I've been enjoying this season so far.
I mean, didn't they play the first game or one of the first games and they beat the Chiefs, right?
They beat the Chiefs in the very first game of the season.
And that was an upset. If that wasn't, I mean,
I
I
called
was
it.
like, what?
I called it even before the injuries. I called it. Some told me they were going to lose. They were
I
going
didn't
to.
even, I didn't see that one coming. I'm like, yeah, look, Patrick Mahomes is a magical wizard with the football, and
No, but here's the thing. Like even last year, like the gap between the Kansas City Chiefs and the rest of the league has closed tremendously. This year, the Kansas City Chiefs are the New England Patriots before Tom Brady left. That's what they are. They are a great defensive team, but they can only beat you one way. They're not going to blow you out. They're not. They just don't have it. They do not have the tools to do it. And as good as Pat Mahomes is, he can't breathe life into dead people. Like that's just there are limits to the magic. So Um, they are missing, like, offensively speaking, they just do not have the horses to win a shootout. So a complete team will beat them. Now, in the AFC, that only leaves Baltimore right now. That's the thing. They still might get there because, in spite of themselves, because the rest of either every other team's quarterback has been injured, right? Right. Joe Burrow's not in. I'm really sad. Stroud's not. CJ Stroud has been nice. You have Lamar, right? You have Lamar and the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to win the AFC is what I think they're going to do, and depending on who they play in the Super Bowl, they're going to win it. It depends on who they draw, right? If somehow my Lions make it to the Super Bowl, the Baltimore's going to win the Super Bowl because Detroit cannot deal with running quarterbacks.
Do you think that the 49ers can beat the Ravens? Because right now, I think the 49ers, there's maybe 6 teams that are really, really, I think, complete teams. And I think the 49ers are playing like a complete team lately.
The
Oh,
thing about the 49ers is this is the only thing you really don't know about them. If a team can go ahead to slug it out with them, like legitimately slug it out with them, can San Fran win a close game? That's the thing about them. They are a good team, undeniable, and they went and they definitely once they get ahead, it's very hard to keep them down. But they struggle coming from behind. Like they struggle with it. And so if you are one, I hate to say it, but Dallas could do it. I think Detroit can do it. I'm not sure Philadelphia can do it because I don't think Philadelphia's got the defense to do it.
yeah, I think Philly's got to figure something out where I think Jalen Hurts is a fantastic quarterback. The guy can play. The guy knows how to win.
Oh yeah, he's probably the best quarterback in the NFC, honestly.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the Buffalo Bills game where they were down pretty hard and they pulled that one out. I mean, they pulled it out of their ass in a lot of ways, but he just drove that football in, and they drove that win in. And you know what it is? You got to give grit to them on that one because that was a tough game where they were down by I think 14 or 17, and they just made defensive stops and they just scored touchdown, field goal. And that I think that was a crazy field goal. I think that was like 63 yards. That was
Oh yeah,
crazy.
sure. But the thing is, from a defensive standpoint, they're vulnerable, and that's the thing. Their defense
I
isn't
agree.
great, right? So a team that can exploit that is going to beat them. The issue again, there are like all these teams, all like that's the thing. Like Kansas City was this dominant team for the last 5 years. They're a good team. They're still a great team, but they're not a favorite anymore. You're not gonna if you're gonna if Vegas's boat is Kansas City or the rest of the league, you're gonna take the rest of the league. You're just going to, right? It's
See how it
possible.
is. I see how it is. This is about Taylor Swift, isn't it?
No, here I got a confession to make. See, I do have a confession to make. I'll show you. See, I too am a Swiftie. It's all good. It's all good.
This is the part where I take off my shirt and I show my tattoo. It tells them no.
No. Then you start singing "Shake It Off," like "Shake It Off, Shake It Off," and I'm like, "What the fuck does this come into?" Right? But no, it has nothing to do. Like I just think they are a good team. They're not the team. They're a good team. Nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's a terrible spot to be in. To be honest with you, it's just you can be got. The only reason why I give you a chance to win it this year is I look at the rest of the AFC and I'm like, you're either injured, suck, or Baltimore. That's it. Like that's it.
Let me put it this way. So I'm a Giants fan. So I know the Giants aren't going to make it.
No,
But
you're gone. You've been gone for a while.
it's fun to watch what the Giants are doing right now every Sunday or Monday night or every Thursday night because now since they can't make it, you're going to see them play a certain way that could be fun. You're going to see riskier plays and you're going to have a good time and you're going to ruin somebody's day if they win. And so it's very enjoyable as a Giants fan. And then the Jets, I mean, it's the same thing with the Jets, where the Jets can really be a spoiler team. Where
Jets
if
still have a chance to make it. They still have a chance to make it.
fair
That's the
enough,
thing.
but they can also they really can ruin somebody's chances
Oh,
very
absolutely.
frequently. And so it's fun to see what they're doing. But with the Jets, at least is how I feel, is that let's see what Zach Wilson can do here. Let's see what this kid can do when he's unrestricted, and let's see what he can do, and let's see what how they not fuck him up. And maybe it's a good sign, and maybe this is a good thing, where maybe the
He's
Jets
not going to be their quarterback next year on the roster next year. Like I
just
already
not
know.
believing in me, Josh. You
I'm
gotta
not.
believe. We have to
No,
believe in a Zach.
no. I've seen Zach play. I've watched Zach play.
I
I've
hope
seen.
you're wrong. And we're going to
I
a Jets game. If you're wrong, they're
what
gonna
Jets
make
game?
all the way.
What Jets game you going to? Who they going to?
No, I don't know what Jets game I'm going to. I'm probably going to a Giants game next year.
Okay.
Um, but it's also not. I mean, I live in Connecticut, so it's not that bad.
No. So next year, the Giants might have a new quarterback also because the current guy in there is doing better than the other guy did. So
Are you saying we're gonna have a new quarterback, or is he gonna get promoted? Because those are two different things. He's gonna get an upgrade in his
this could
class.
this could go one of two ways. I think Daniel Jones got the bag, and now people are like, I don't know, right? And especially with the way he played at the start of the year. But the guys are that. But this guy, hey, I didn't know this until like 2 weeks ago. Your team can actually block people. Like that's something that couldn't that didn't happen with Daniel.
The key to football, everybody, is living with your parents and your mom still makes your bed. This is the key to everything. So for those who don't know, Tommy DeVito lives 12 miles away from MetLife Stadium. He lives with his parents, and his mom still makes his bed. And he's playing in the NFL as the Giants quarterback. And he's like,
Yep.
what, won 3 games? I mean,
Yeah, he's 3-0. I mean, grant you, I don't know if he's the starting quarterback next year, but I think he has the right to fight for the job. So
look. I think all the players should move back in with their parents. I think their moms should make all their beds and watch this. They will go 18-0. They will go 18-0. They're
so
20-0.
so the power of sandwiches. That's what you hold us to, the power of sandwiches.
Hey, I'm willing to try anything if it gets us a Super Bowl.
Okay. Okay.
See,
Peanut butter and J, ladies and gentlemen, peanut butter and J. That's the secret.
I mean, what? Look, think about this, right? If this is the way it's all done, and all these players are doing it, and then think about the endorsement deal, right? For Smucker's peanut butter and Smucker jelly. I mean, I'm telling you, this is billions of dollars of peanut butter and jelly that will be sold. And then think
Right.
about the charity work on this. I mean, oh my God, you're gonna have like a P&J charity, and then it gets better. If you think Travis Kelce was great on SNL, put Saquon Barkley with peanut butter and jelly, and oh my God, where did my money go? Oh my God, you got a skit that's gonna take off. I'm telling you, this thing's gonna sell itself and take care of everybody.
You actually might get even better paycheck from Saturday Night Live than your own team.
I mean, if you're Tommy DeVito, you're making like 20,000 for the year, and it's insane. It's like the
Yep.
whole thing's insane, and I love it.
But the thing is, he can play, right? So that's the thing. Like you have a quarterback that can play, and your team's actually really making an effort because of him, and because they're making an effort, they're winning games. Now it's too late this year. They're not going to get into the playoffs. Probably not anyway. So, I mean,
I would love it if they beat the Eagles and they beat the Cowboys. Oh my God. What a spoiler that would be for everybody. Not saying
no.
they're gonna do it. They're not gonna they might beat the Eagles. That could be plausible. The Cowboys, I don't think they're gonna touch.
See, that's the one I think they're going to touch. So that's the one. Because, see, Dallas not only beat those boys, but humiliated them. Actually, they can't play again this year. They've already played twice, haven't they?
No, I don't. I think they only played once. I think.
You got the 40-0 shellacking, and you took like a 35. Like you scored more that game. It was like
Did
35-13.
Dallas again? Did they? Because I don't know if they did. I don't remember the second game. I don't.
It wasn't as bad. I mean, don't get me wrong. Considering the amount of ass kickings your team took earlier in the season, I mean, it wasn't the worst of the two of them. They actually did better in the second game, but
Because I don't think the Giants played the Eagles yet.
they haven't played the Eagles yet. No, the Eagles play them soon. Both their games come soon.
Because I think the Giants beat the Commanders twice.
Yep.
But the Commanders are a different story. I mean, that whole thing. Oh my God.
The Commanders are it's a small world right at Disneyland. Everybody gets a turn and everybody wins.
So bad. It's so bad because I used to live in DC. That's why it's terrible, but it's so true. It's so
It's a
true.
small world after all.
What was that
That's right.
team? I mean, oh, what a poor investment by Josh Allen. What a poor investment. I think Josh Allen bought the team for like 6.4 billion. What a poor investment. Like,
No, it's not poor investment because even if the team sucks, even if the team is terrible, it'll still make money because it's an NFL franchise. Like NFL is godly down in the United States. Like it's unbelievable. Um, but so as an investment, it's worth it. It's just an investment you don't talk about. You're like, how do you afford this? My NFL franchise. Which one is it? I don't want to say. Why? Because then they'll have the same thought I have. It's a small world after all. Everybody beats them. Just the way it is.
oh man.
I
Maybe
mean,
there's the answer to me earning my money back. I don't know.
but that's it. That's like, hey, listen, it's one of those where you gotta look at it honestly and go to yourself, like, look, like they're not a winning team, but that doesn't mean much. People still go out and see them, right? And the NFL is the biggest show in the United States every year. So you have to. I mean, that's a good investment. Now, again, you like it when your team wins because when your team wins, it's way more fun. But right,
I mean, I'm a Giants fan. We had a bunch of good years with Eli. We won 2 Super Bowls with Eli, and those were
mm-hmm.
fun. Those were fun games. I
Oh sure,
mean, you can't. I mean, if you look at some of the best Super Bowls, you got to put those 2 games in the top 20.
you wrecked Brady's
First one,
perfect. You wrecked Brady's perfect season. I mean that will always be your legacy.
remember, it was 18 wins and one giant loss
That's
because
right.
that year they played the Giants right before. And what was crazy is that game, the Giants almost beat the Patriots in that game in the regular season. And then the rematch was up in the Super Bowl. And oh my God, everybody thought that it was going to be the perfect season. And what a freaking spoiler that New York team was. And then was that the one where Michael Strahan retired after, I think, or did he
Yeah,
retire?
yeah. Yep. They won. Tom Brady would give two Super Bowl rings for that for have a perfect season.
Oh
But
my God, he would give up 5. He would have given
no,
up.
no, no, you wouldn't give up five. You give up two. You give up two. He wouldn't give up his he wouldn't give up most some of them he wouldn't give up. His first one he wouldn't give up. His one with Tampa he wouldn't give up. The one he did the comeback with Atlanta he wouldn't give up. Right? He's got some really good memories in the Super Bowl. Just that one is the one that got away. That one's the one that's just like
And then the second one was great too because it was obviously the rematch, and that was exciting. That was exciting. What was that, like 3, 4 years later?
yeah, so there you go. Like it's one of those where you gotta look at it honestly and go, now you don't give those up. But maybe you give that one you beat the Rams that one year, that was defensive, like whatever the fuck that
Yeah, the
was.
Rams. Nobody even cares about them anymore, anyhow.
Exactly.
Aren't they a truck? I mean, I'm so
They kind
sorry.
of are. They kind of are.
All I know is that Tom Brady has an autograph card right now in a Topps baseball set, which is the weirdest thing ever. And then Topps just did something with Bill Belichick if he coached the Expos. And
Yep.
so he signed a bunch of cards and he said, I know Tom can catch, but can he hit? And on
Yeah.
one of the cards. And so like those are included as bonus cards. And so I'm hoping I pull one of those because that'd be sick to
Yeah.
pull something like that from Belichick. Because I'm not saying I love Bill Belichick, but I have to admit it'd be kind of funny to have that in a card. You send that thing off to PSA DNA, Beckett, signed, grade. Oh, it'd be great. So I'm a big
This,
card collector, everybody.
so this is Belichick's last year probably with the Patriots. You know that, right?
And then the Giants are gonna hire him right off the spot.
They are.
No, no, they're not. I don't think they would do that.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, please come to New York. It's like, I don't know if you'd want him to come to New York.
But it might actually complete the circles. I think Bill Belichick, I think, was a coach, like an assistant coach on the New York Giants at one point. I think he was, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but okay. So the one thing that's been made apparent about Belichick, he's guy is so great defensive mind, but from an offensive standpoint, his relationship with his players isn't always the best. And when you're looking, and you guys, let's be honest, you're going to have a new quarterback starting next year, probably. You don't want someone to wreck his confidence. And I'm not sure Belichick's the guy for that. So I think that my favorite take was Nick Wright's today. Know where he goes next? Tampa Bay. Do what Tom Brady did. I'll win a ring here too.
You know how funny it would be if he did actually won a ring in Tampa Bay? It'd be
That would be
brilliant.
amazing.
I mean, Bill Belichick is one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Sure.
I mean, you can't what he won five with New England. I want to say
Six.
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 Because Brady has how many rings? Seven.
Seven.
So Brady won six with New
New
England,
England.
right?
Correct.
And he won one with Tampa, and
Correct.
then which means I mean Brady's the goat of all time, right?
Yep. So that is what it is.
Does Brady have the most Super Bowl wins, or is there somebody ahead of him or somebody tied?
He has the most.
Because doesn't a guy have six?
Nope. Closest is Montana with five. He broke the record with New England.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. That's just wild. I mean, oh man,
The
it's
greatest of all
crazy.
time is Tom Brady. That's undeniable.
So I want to ask you questions about your podcast class because obviously I'm a podcaster, and I'll be
Sure.
honest. My biggest issue, and I say this, is that unfortunately in our society it is hard to find good information, and also when people are first starting out, it's very complicated on where to go for guidance. I mean, when I started podcasting 10 years ago, I went to Barnes and Noble and I bought podcasting for dummies. I mean that's what I did, and then I also did trial by fire.
Well, yeah.
So I don't think you disagree with any either of those 2 points. And so, what is this like? Because at this stage, I'm not saying podcasts for dummies is a bad place to start as far as a book, but I also feel like it doesn't show you or even give you more insight information because I think things have changed. And so, what is that like for you? Because I think there is that issue now where there needs to be, I guess, a little bit more insider information, if that makes sense.
So one of the things I talk about in the course is what kind of show do you want to make? And I ask that, and I go it from the point of view of time. Let's see. I'm going to look at this clock here. We are approaching 90 minutes right now. We're approaching 90 minutes of the conversation. We probably got another, based on the way this conversation is going, probably another 15 minutes or so before we wrap up, give or take. Right? So there is a very particular audience that listens to a show like this. This is someone that's so like a guy like you who's working in an office looking for somebody to listen to for a long period of time. This is the show. This is the kind of show for you. If you were working out or doing a small assignment, this is probably too long for you. Right? Time is such a big factor in a show. And the time of your show pretty much pretty much dictates your format. And I don't care what it is, whether it's a watch along, whether it's a audio drama, whether it's an interview show like this, whether it's an education show, documentary style show. There's a set of beats in every kind of show, and you need to understand what those beats actually are. And most people don't, when they start, they don't think in those terms. But I mean, like a good example, and this is something I go in greater detail about in the course. Okay, imagine someone's going to work, right? So imagine someone's going to work, because that's a good place for people to listen to shit. And people will take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to drive. Okay. What do you want to talk to them about in 20 minutes to an hour? Right? That's the thing. That's not what this show is. This show is very much a long form conversation. So someone listening to this show is going to want to be into some kind of form of the arts, but also wants to have something that can go a little long. Maybe something they digest, maybe even 2 sittings. Maybe I listen to half of it one sitting, and then the other half I'll hit a pause point, and that's it, right? So I understand what my show is, and the format is the way it is in part because I know exactly what my time cues are, right? And that dictates everything for me. Now, this is just one aspect of it. It's not the only thing, but it's an important thing because based on that information, you know who your targets are.
No, it makes sense. I mean, what I find for my show, hour 15 is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And also, though, it depends who you have. So if I have somebody who is 90 and they've been writing comics for 50 years, and I know they're at the end of their life, I might say, look, we're going to go for as long as they want to go, because at the end of the day, this might be their last interview.
Sure.
And so sometimes you also make calls like that, where if I know somebody is older and they don't do many interviews, I'm going to take as much time as I need. But what I found that works really well on a viewership level for me is an hour 15.
Sure.
That works because, again, it's a long form conversation, and it's probably somebody's listening at work, or they like the subject matter,
Mm-hmm.
especially with voice actors. So if I just had cutting up and interviewing and editing my John Swayze interview. He's the beer guy in Dazed and Confused, and he plays Sir Crocodile in One Piece. Somebody who's listening to that interview is going to sit for the hour and 15 minutes because they like John Swayze and they like the roles he's done. So it's very subject matter driven,
Mm-hmm.
that interview. And it's tagged appropriately when it's re released and pushed out there. But I also understand that if that was a 6 hour thing, nobody in their right mind is going to listen to it. But that's what I
6 hours, maybe not 3, possibly. I mean, but again, it's who do you want to listen to it, right? That I mean, everything has a purpose. There's a formula to your show, whether you realize it or not. I talk about this. And whatever that formula is, you're going to follow it for the most part. Like, you're going to break the rules sometimes, but sometimes it's good to break the rules.
No, because I think that, obviously, and what I understand is that when I first started, this probably would have been helpful to me in certain ways, because when you're
Oh,
coming into a new medium, and I've had this discussion about a bunch of stuff, not just your class, but a bunch of classes, is I'm like, man, I'm 10 years in, and when I first started, boy, this would be helpful to me to give me
this
an
is, but
idea.
this isn't just for people just getting started either. I mean, this is also this is. I mean, it has some stuff definitely for getting started stuff. And I would say that is my primary thing. But even someone that's taking it that's done podcasting, right? Based on this chat, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Like, for example, time cues, formula, audience. Like, I'm not sure that full connection was fully made until we just had this chat briefly, right? But there is a connection there. So what I do is what I'm also doing is for people who've done more than the average Joe is I'm going to go into details about when to break the formula for your show, why to do it, why where how to find your target, right? There have been weeks on this show. I up until like mid last year, there was a point I was averaging 2,000 downloads a week. I hit that point. So I understand exactly what it is I can hit. I can understand exactly what happens when people also, one of the things I'm going to talk about is how to turn people that hate you into your biggest fans a little bit, because there's a little bit of that. That reality is going to bear stuck ahead. I had a guest last year I interviewed, and apparently, when it was over, they went behind. They said some terrible things about me to a lot of people behind my back. And I was like, because we ended up talking about some things that made them very uncomfortable. Just the way the conversation went. Now, the funny thing is, looking at it, is that individual could have just told me to stop having. Can we change directions in the conversation? And now they happily have done so. It didn't have to stay there, but that's what happened. And but I also learned from that. It's like these are things that have happened. Is how do you deal with people that hate you? How do you deal with people like? How do you deal with people how do you deal with guests when you bring them in, even if you don't regularly do guests on your show? Like some of the bigger things. I've done a podcast long enough to go, and others, and I've done other shows as well, where it's just like, okay, these are why you want these things. And even if you've done podcasts in like yourself, I would say that where it's handy for you is you're going to get a refresher on some things you already knew, but you might approach your show when it's over in a different light than you did before. And even if you've done shows before,
What if I want to be in the dark?
then go be in the dark.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
cool with
sorry.
that.
I'm sorry. It was just too easy. It was just too easy to say that joke.
Yeah, but it's okay to be in the dark. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just like straight up, just like for someone like you, I'd be like, okay, I have 8 modules. Probably modules 1 through 4 you won't give a fuck about because they're the basics. But modules 5 through 8, yeah, I
Because
think you would.
you know
Yeah,
why I'm asking, because this is where this gets interesting, right? Is that at a certain point, it's like, cool, there is a podcast class, and I know the basics, right? Like, great. What's a podcast, right? It's a fair position to start at. But then where does this differ? Because I've taken classes before, not on this, but on social media. I'm like, great. The first 10 hours of this didn't help me. And then hours 11 and 12 were game changers, right?
yeah,
And I'm like, okay, I just spent 20 bucks and the last 10 hours have been nothing for me. And then we get to hour 11, I'm exhausted. I'm like, man, this was a waste of my money, motherfucker. And then I'm like, oh, we got to something useful, because
mm-hmm.
there's people who are seeing your stuff out there and they're like, cool, this is a podcast class, but I'm already a podcaster. Where does this shift up for me? And that's really important, because again, this is where I think this is interesting, because
Yeah,
I'm sure you've bought books and I'm sure you've taken classes, and you're like, I know A, B, C, but I did not know D and E. And like I bought a book for 12 bucks on one of these things. It was a funnel, and the book has financially changed my economics because it taught me about drips,
yeah,
which is a dividend reinvestment plan.
yeah,
Completely changed my perspective, and it will make me in the course of my life anywhere from $1 million to $3 million in the
mm-hmm.
next 35 years, which is insane on a $12 book.
Yeah,
So that's why I asked this question, because I think that that's a real thing that people need to understand.
yeah.
Is that
Like, yeah. I mean, yeah, I do have basics. I would say like half the course is the base is for basics, but the other half is bigger stuff, like stuff that if you've done the show a while, maybe how to change it up, how to do some stuff. Also, and the last one is almost like it's a beginner slash. Someone back to something we said at the very beginning. How do you get artists to talk? Right, self confidence issues with yourself and your guests. Um, the biggest thing a podcast can teach someone in the arts is to communicate. Ironically enough, because you have to. Like we live in an age today. Like there's lots of great books out there. Like we can go on both of our Facebooks right now, And there are people that are like doing incredible things right this minute. No one's advertising, or no one, or they're advertising. Uh, did you see that? Have you seen how much shit has gone on with that cover?
Oh my God. Did you see we're talking about the best cover ever created, right?
Yeah, fantastic. The X Force cover, yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I think it's the best cover ever created.
I see. I have a theory about it, but I was getting annoyed because I was watching comic book professionals, some people I respect, trashing this thing, just trashing it. I'm like, okay,
I'm
I'm
gonna
a
give
free.
you in a sec though. Continue.
Yeah. But but the thing was like this is the thing I looked at. It's like okay, look, I'm a freelancer. At the end of the day, Marvel paid for this, and Marvel's publishing it, which tells me one very important thing: Marvel's happy with it, because otherwise they wouldn't be printing it. So John did his job, and I don't necessarily think like again I'm not necessarily saying it's his best work ever. It's not, in my humble opinion. However, right? However, I don't think like the bashing he's gotten from some people is just like, what
I
the
don't
fuck?
understand. I don't understand. I like the cover. I really do. I like the cover. This is my
Yeah,
hot take. I like the cover. You know what the cover reminds me of? It reminds me a little bit of Frank Miller. It
yeah,
reminds me of Dark Knight and
yeah,
Dark Knight Returns and Dark Knight 3. Like Wolverine blocky a little bit. That's what it reminds me of. And I'm like,
sure.
this is kind of like what when did Dark Knight, Frank Miller come out? Like the 90s? It kind of has that vibe to me. I actually like the cover. I'm probably gonna buy a copy of it. I think it's fun. I don't really
It's
care.
actually incredibly, all things considered, it's incredibly detailed for that style. Like, really, honestly.
I, I just think people like I don't think it's a bad cover. I just think it's off Broadway. In which that I think people are so used to this other style that we've had for years that the second somebody does something that's a different style, they say, oh, that's a piece of shit. It's kind of like if Marvel did a new school cover, completely over the wall new school, like tattoo new school style. People be like, what the fuck is this? And that's what that is to me. And I don't think I can understand somebody saying this is not my style. Marvel missed it on a stylistic position, but I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with the cover. And
No.
I don't understand. I don't understand the amount of hatred, and I don't understand the it blows my mind because I've never seen so much hatred towards a particular cover.
Well, it just gets me. Is it's like some of these people are hating it. They freelance themselves. Like the one thing I think that needs to be said, and this is something I actually it's on my board. I talked to one of the guys. It's like well, he's a 20-year veteran. It's like yes, but he's also doing a job for a company, right? So maybe they requested it for him to do it this way. If they requested him to do it this way, then he did his job, right? Right? Like no one knows the story, really the story behind that cover.
If you
Right? No
got
one
paid,
really knows it.
who knows?
Right? That's it. That's no one knows the story. So I'm coming at this from like, okay, I'm ignorant here. This is the only cover like this he's ever done. Right? I know he can. I know he's got his other style. He'll go back to what he's known for when it's all said and done. So if this is just a one-off thing, cool. Happy for him. And that's it. That's where I'm at. It's like I'm happy for him. Like it's not like to be honest, not my favorite kind of cover, but that's okay. It's not for
And
me.
I like this cover more than his other stuff.
That's fine.
I took it even simpler than you. I said I like this cover. This is
Yeah,
kind of cool. It's a little
yeah,
trippy. I like it. I want to go
yeah.
now buy this cover. Like this to me just looks trippy. It caught. It's gonna make me stop in a comic store, and maybe
No,
that's and guess what? I like the cover. I mean, this is the first time me ever admitting that because if I said I like this cover on Facebook, I think I will get dogpiled on and attacked. I really do, to be honest.
yeah, but I like for me, I don't give a shit. Like I can hold my ground. Like here, the wonderful thing about the pandemic taught me, I openly don't give a fuck anymore about people disagreeing with me. I openly don't. What happens is I will be respectful. I will listen to you. I will hear you out. I think everybody has a right to an opinion. I still might disagree with you at the end of the day. And if I do disagree with you at the end of the day, that's it. Now, if you decide, I had a friend of mine on Twitter X, like, she asked the question, why is Trump popular? And I tried to explain this, and she ended up unfriending me. It's because of the. I'm not saying that Biden is worse than Trump, but I'm saying that the way they're covered is very different, like, right? Considering some of the things that Biden has pulled off, right? It's like okay, anyone listening to this, watching this, you might hate Trump. I get it. But the thing is, Biden isn't exactly a good consolation prize either. So, that all said, she got really offended and she ended up blocking me on Twitter because I was like, shrug, I'm sorry you feel this way. What do you want me to do about it? Right? I'm not trying to be heartless about it, but I can't control your reaction to something. I'm not going to. I'm not interested. I don't care. I'm going to be true to who I am. And if you like it, great. If you don't, I don't care. And in fact, if you get really mad at me and you draw a whole controversy to me, good. It'll help me sell shit. And that's just where I'm at. And that is where I'm at.
I agree with you. I just don't want to just start something right now because I understand sometimes, like if I put up that cover and say, I like this cover, I'm gonna get dogpiled on, and I'm just not interested in dealing with it over a stupid cover that I'm like, it's kind of fun, guys. This is a ridiculous argument. Like, I just think the amount of hatred on it is so ridiculous.
Oh, it's nuts. Like it's a cover. And like okay, do you want a legitimate personal opinion about this cover? This is my personal opinion about this.
No, no, I want an impersonal one. Please be impersonal about
No, no.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I want what I think the Marvel publishing house asked him to do this cover in this style because it was him. Because it was him. Because the expectations you have with the John Cassaday cover get completely overturned looking at it. And the thing is, the one thing I will say about this cover that's positive, absolutely 100% positive, it stands out. There's nothing like it. Nothing. So I say that, not currently anyway. So I say that with like the and so if you're a creative that hates that cover, my comment to you is twofold. It got a reaction you can only dream of. And they honestly, you got a reaction you could only dream of. You want people to have a positive or a negative reaction. But two, man got paid to do artwork. It's what we all dream of doing. Let them enjoy it.
Oh, I mean, honestly, I
Yeah,
would have not been looking at this cover. I don't care about X Force one damn bit. No offense to
exactly. Exactly.
now. I want to read X Force. I don't really care about anything else, but I want to read it. And I'm going to a comic shop probably this weekend. I'll probably go to Newberry. They're gonna have this book. I think it's out, right? It's out, right?
It's gonna be out next month.
Oh, okay. So it's out next month. So I'll go next month when this one's out. And now I want to pick up this book and read it. And
Yep.
now I'm really, really excited. And I'm like, I'm probably gonna go get it graded. And
Yeah.
and, and I think it's great. And then guess what happened with this cover? Michael Marat or Marat Michaels, I forget how it's pronounced. I always get it mixed up. A guy who does Do You Poo just did a parody of this cover.
Yeah.
So this book is now becoming going to be parodied, in which it would do. I would expect a bunch of Kickstarters to copy it. I expect that this book is going to be a copied book and made fun of, and I expect it, and I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's going to create its own category, and I'm super excited for it. And
Nice.
and I love it. I'm going to get all of them because I think this cover's hilarious. I think it's great. I love it. I love this style. In fact, if I do a book, I want this style on my book. I love this style. I absolutely love the block Frank Miller sort of 90s, not shittily drawn, but drawn in that rougher style. That'd be a
Mm-hmm.
good way to say it. I like that style. That style is what got me into comics. And
There you
so
go.
great. Like for me, this brings me back to my roots. So
Yeah,
I'm
you go.
sorry, everybody. But
No, I
go
don't
on.
think you should be sorry. Like that. This is the only thing I don't apologize. It's what you like.
I'm gonna say something very, very polite. I'm back home.
Yeah. No, I bring it up like this because I don't apologize. Like again, at this point in my life, like again, the one thing the pandemic taught me is that people, you gotta make, like, honestly, stand for where you stand. Don't worry about it. If people are going to use that as an excuse to walk away, let them walk. It's honestly better for everybody involved. And that's it. Like, I'm not looking necessarily to start a fight with anybody, but I'm also like, you know what? This is what I think. Don't like it. That's fine too. I'm not I'm not worried about it. And then people want to get pissed off and really want to react to it. It's like, okay, listen, react. We'll go. I'll hear you out.
Oh my God. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put that cover when I say I'm back home.
Yeah,
With
that's
a
right.
little lightning bolt, with a little
That's right.
lightning at the end of it.
And actually, actually, you know what you should do? You should dance with the cover. Like, you should come back home, do like da 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 da, like, just actually, it's just like, and
What you do is that you get an Olympic torch and you put it at the top of the Olympic torch instead of lighting the torch and the flame on it. You just put it on there and you just start running through out of the comic shop.
do do
And
do
then it's like
do
you go
do
across state lines
do.
and you hand it off to somebody, and then they run too. Oh, you know how funny that would be?
It could
So
be. You could do something kind of fun with that, like just Olympic torch. It's like, that's a bad cover, and then you have someone go, "That's actually," and you actually have some people go, "That's a terrible cover." Oh, and just run anyway, right? There's and some people go, "Oh, I love this cover," and just have different reactions to it each and every time, right? And
oh my
and
God.
no, it'd be great, and it'd be great, and then have people angry at the cover chasing these people. Like, that could be fun. It could be a
Oh
lot of
my God.
fun.
I'm now gonna have to figure out how to shoot this. Oh my God, it'd be great. And then it just keeps growing out. There's
No,
so many.
the challenge is chase scenes. The chase scenes, you gotta have like one of those little carts. So you put your camera on and you just go down, right? And you gotta get. And the other thing is, you gotta get right. The song you gotta have is dun 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 dun. Like, that's the song you gotta have going with the Olympic torch passing. And you pause it long enough, that people actually comment on the cover. And make it fun, right? Make it fun. Have some people go, "Oh, this is like the worst thing ever." And then other people, it's like, "I love this cover." Actually, in your case, just hug it. Like, you just hug it real close. Then it also, like, "Oh shit, they're after me," and they keep going. Right?
Oh, so many things to be done. I'm gonna buy like 10 of them. I'm watch it. I'm gonna buy like 3,000 of these books all by myself just to get its sales up. Like,
This book is the greatest seller ever, and everybody's like, "I don't understand." No, it's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like I said, as a professional, this is just me as a professional. He did his job, and you can't knock somebody for doing the job, and I really don't. And my personal opinion is, he probably was asked to do it that way. That's my bet. And that in that style, he still did a really good job in that style. Now, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite, but
you're wrong. And you're just wrong because it's a great
that's
cover. That's
okay.
my favorite.
Okay, and you know what? And I'm okay with being wrong. I know what I like. Okay, give me manga girls all the time. But anyways, no, it's neither here nor there. But
No,
but
no, 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 no. My opinion is that I don't know what he was done, but as a fan, and I took a very fan approach. I said, I like the cover. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I like the cover. I like weird stuff. Like, guess what? I've seen a bunch of bad movies, and I'm like, I like that movie. That movie was fun. I've seen like I'll make a real argument. I loved Fast X. I really had a great time seeing Fast X. Was Fast
mhm.
X a good movie? Of course it wasn't. It was a horrible movie. Did I have a blast seeing it for 3 hours? Oh my God. I had such a good day. For 3 hours with my Sour Patch Kids, my soda, my popcorn in the movie theater. Oh my God, what a great day I had. So it did its job. Because guess what? For 3 hours, I wasn't thinking about anything else except watching a ridiculous movie. So what was the point of the movie? Was I supposed to expect Vin Diesel to give me an Oscar with Fast X? No. My expectation was X and it gave me Fast.
Yeah. So,
And
so,
so
so
there you go. So that's how I feel. But again, I'm sure we've alienated a bunch of people here.
yeah.
And I'm sure it's all right. We can only go up. We can no longer go down.
So I don't even think it's, again, same thing. I don't even look at it as going up or going down. I'm saying my opinion. That's it. You can agree with me or disagree with me. I don't care. And I mean that like in the best way. I'll still have a drink with you when it's over. For example, you think it's the greatest cover ever. I disagree, but you know what? It's fine. As you so eloquently put it, I am wrong, and I'm okay being wrong. We'll have a drink. I'll,
But you
I'll
know
enjoy my.
I'm joking. You
Yeah,
know
no,
I'm
no, 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 no,
joking.
no. I know. I am joking, right? Like I'm being a little facetious too, right? I'm saying it like that because again, I just want people to understand, like, you don't. Again, an opinion doesn't necessarily mean that we can have different opinions and the world will still turn, right? That's the thing about it. The world still turns.
But what we're talking about, and I'll say this, is that we're talking about something that is so moot, and it doesn't change anything in reality.
Sure.
If somebody says, "I hate this cover," and I say, "I love this cover," guess what? If you and me can't have a beer at that point, we are in a much bigger problem.
Oh yeah.
Versus, I understand when the whole Trump thing versus Biden thing, Democrat, Republican, those lines are way more defined. So
Uh,
obviously, me and my friends have very different political beliefs where we take
sure.
different. But guess what? We also understand that that is just one aspect, and we could separate that little aspect of 10% away from the 90.
Well,
Other
well,
people can't do that. And
well, no. I see. This is where I think, like, I even think this is what it comes down to. It's it's how invested you are in it, like how you identify with whatever it is you're associating with. I look at I look at politics like whether you're pro Trump, you're pro Biden, you're anti Trump or anti Biden. I call myself a political atheist. I think they're all full of shit. Ergo, I don't trust any of them. That's me, right? That is me, and I can look at them. But the thing is, I can look at politics on honestly. It's like, okay, you identify with this. Why do you identify with this? I may not agree with you, but I can at least try to understand you. And that's important because honestly what most of us really want, and if you want people, and folks, if you want to actually talk about politics, religion, or anything that requires any serious real consequence, approach the other person in a from position of listening and understanding. It doesn't matter whether you agree or you're going to agree with them. You're probably at the end of it not going to agree with them, but you don't need to agree with them, and that's really the point. We 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 can let this stuff divide us, or we can let this stuff go. Like once upon a time, back in my day, when I had slightly more hair and I had no goatee. Back in my day, there was a time we could disagree about who was in politics and nobody cared. And I would love to get it back to that point again. But the only way that's going to happen is if we can honestly separate ourselves from the ideals we believe our leaders have. I'm an atheist when it comes to that, folks. I don't think many leaders have any ideals. So you might call that cynical, folks. I call that what I've seen, but that's neither here nor there. What is here or there is we all look at things differently, and we all need to be open enough to understand that A, the world is bigger than us, and B, right? And B, I don't need to agree with you to get along with you. I just all you and I really need is a basic understanding of I appreciate you. Even if I disagree with you, I appreciate it. And that's all it is.
I don't disagree in which that, what is best words people could say to me are thank you and I appreciate you for having me on in a
Yeah.
podcast. Those two words open up more doors than people realize. I'm sure that 90% of my guests that I have, I probably disagree with them politically. Guess what? All those people probably have a pretty good idea of my politics. If you don't know my politics, everybody, by now, you've been living under a rock. And I'm saying that as nice as I can. But you don't hear me professing, wow, pronunciating. That's a good word to use. And
Yes.
but if people want to get into it, I'm more than happy to have that discussion at any given point. But again, I also choose sometimes not to have that discussion because I don't know if the person I'm having that discussion is in good faith. And that's what I'm looking for is good faith discussions
Yep.
and not necessarily an open bashing attack. Because I've
Oh,
been in those, and those are very different. Where I'm like, if you want to have a discussion about something that we disagree on, whatever that topic may be, I'm more than happy to have that in good open faith. The second it becomes unopen faith, or the faith is gone, I don't know what you want to call that, but
Yeah,
yeah, what I find.
the moment the attack goes, like there's a difference between disagreeing with an idea than disagreeing with a person. And like disagreeing with the idea of a person rather than being thinking a person's scum. Like I'm never going to say somebody that, let's say, takes a more conservative mindset that they're racist. I have that, or I'm not going to say that someone takes a more liberal mindset that they're snowflakes, right? I'm like, you're not going to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to honestly look at things and go, okay, you see things this way. Why do you see things this way? That's it. That I mean that it's amazing the difference. Now again, we can disagree and we'll probably have some back and forth, or maybe we agree. Maybe we agree more than we realize too. That's the other thing too. It's just we might see the same, we might see it differently, but the base reason might be the same. And that's kind of neat too sometimes when that happens. But neither here, neither there. Mr. Andrew, I think we've gone nearly 2 hours.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I want to let you go to sleep tonight. What I mean by sleep is do some editing and work on
Yeah.
your class.
Yeah. So before I do that, before I promote myself, is there anything you want to promote?
Yeah. So I'm coming back January 9th for season 5, which I'm sure you'll be happily be a part of.
Sure.
Um, and I got about 8 people booked so far, and I have Dave Franchini from Zenoscopes coming on January 9th, and I have Jen Thomas right now coming on January 10th. So that's going to be a fun 2 days, and I got Tom Hutchinson on the 11th. So it's looking to be a really fun week that week, and I'm looking for 2, 3 more people, and I'm reaching out to them. And obviously that is conversations in pop culture. So just YouTube, pop anime comics, conversations in pop culture. And then the other thing I got going on right now is I run an eBay business. And so I sell a lot of books, and I got a lot of cool stuff in my store right now, and doing some more fun stuff. So that is pop anime comics collectibles on eBay. And yeah, I just have a lot of books and I ship all over the world. So doesn't matter what country you're in, if you're looking for some cool comics, cool baseball cards, basketball cards, maybe a few pop Funkos, some other weird trinkets if you that's what fancies you. I got you covered. And I actually don't have it right now, but somebody sent me a free box of 50 comics. So every order until I run out of those is getting some free comics in them. So yeah, definitely check me out. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me on. And my social media is Pop Anime Comics.
Yes.
So anything with Pop Anime Comics is mine, unless I owe you money. If I owe you money, I'm going to quietly walk away as if I broke something in a store. But
That's right.
all jokes aside, I would like to say thank you for having me on. Again, I don't really get invited on shows, so I appreciate anybody who has me on, and I will be returning the favor, hopefully in season 5 with you.
Yeah, that would be swell. All right, folks, let's do this properly. Let's have this all go. I am doing a podcast course right now. You can go register right now until the end of the year. It is $300 if you want to be part of it. And it will go up next year. I give you a little hint. I'm going to teach you guys how to create a show. It's on I've just put it up there, jpentelresco.wordpress.com/podcast course. If you are interested, the basic building blocks building a show are the first 4 modules. The last 4 modules are a little bit more advanced stuff. Everything from show formula, reaching an audience, building confidence, right, and also guest etiquette, which is something that I think is a good thing to talk about on both sides of the equation. You as a host, them as a guest. So then maybe 1 or 2 more things, depending on how many people sign up. But anyways, take a look at the link there in the description below. And for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.